Hello, I'm Deborah Waxman, MTC's Director of Marketing, and I'd like to welcome you to our The Show Goes On series, today featuring Harvey Fierstein's Casa Valentina, which debuted on Broadway in 2014. It was nominated for 4 Tony Awards, including Best Play. We'll look back at some scenes, then enjoy a reunion with much of the original Broadway cast. It's now my great pleasure to introduce playwright, actor, op-ed columnist, a 4-time Tony Award winner himself, Harvey Fierstein.
Thank you, Deborah. Hello, everybody there at home, everybody locked down. So we're going to talk about Casa Valentina today. I'll tell you how this all started. I got a phone call from some friends of mine, Colin Callender, who I knew from HBO, Bob Balaban, Fred Zolo, Bob Cole. They had bought the rights to a book that I had seen of photographs. Now, 2 guys that worked at the flea market, the West Side Flea Market, had were walking around and they found a box of photographs. These were photographs of men dressed as women. Anyway, they bought the photographs. They were going through them. They couldn't figure out what the hell they were. They finally figured out that these were photographs taken in a house in the Catskills, at a hotel in the Catskills, where cross-dressers would go to spend the weekend and cross-dress. They didn't know very much more than that. They put it together in this book. They called the book Casa Susanna, which was the name of one of the hotels. It wasn't the hotel that I based the show on. Anyway, so they came to me and they said, do you want to write a play? And I thought, drag queens. We've seen drag queens. I'm tired of drag queens already. But then I started doing my research. And doing my research, I discovered this entire world of heterosexual transvestites. These are men who live their lives, mostly married with children, live their, mostly white collar, live their regular lives, and then on the weekend would go up to this hotel in the Catskills called the Chateau d'Eon, and spend the weekend in drag as women. They believed they had an inner woman inside of them. Some believed it was a split personality. Some thought of it as a sexual thing. Some saw it as a gender thing. Everyone had their own reason, but they all came together and respected one another because of that. I became fascinated with this world of politics and all that. I did a ton of research about it, and in the end ended up writing this play called Casa Valentina. I changed the name because I wanted to be true to this version and not put words in other people's mouths. I actually got to meet one of the actual people who hung out there. She lives as a woman now, lives in Australia. She lives in Australia now. And she came to New York and spent time with us. It was great. We had this unbelievable cast, who you will meet now, who bonded together doing this experience. It was a wonderful experience. Joe Mantello directed. We had wonderful designers. It was a great, happy time in my life. And it's a play that I've now seen. I've seen it in Spanish. I've seen it in London. And I always hope that we'll do even more with it. So now, I guess, the cast of Casa Valentina.
Am I the only one here? I can wait outside.
Oh, don't be silly. Please, join me. Welcome to the Chevalier d'Eon Resort, where you may live your innermost truth in an environment of peace and friendship. No, that's last year's brochure.
Oh, I have it here. You'll think you're in heaven staying at our haven.
Believe it or not, most of our guests like doing housework. They find it completes the experience. So I say grab a dish towel, make your dreams come true.
Did you steam out my floral brocade?
It's hanging on the back of the door.
Oh, you are...
I am.
What?
Are you in trouble?
Me? No.
George, I'm your wife.
Which makes me the luckiest man in the world. Now, please don't worry. Just let it be. Did you comb out the wig?
Freshly washed and set. And I trimmed the band.
Because you can read my mind.
Oh, wouldn't that be a time saver? Do you want me to do your prep?
Oh, no, I can do it. If you're busy.
Do it.
Oh, I wish I could have gone as Valentina. She would have handled him so much better. And seeing her would have eliminated the question, so you wear dresses? I certainly do not. I wear them one at a time.
How do you balance the female part?
I'm a decorated war hero wearing a house coat and turban. Do you really want my advice? Some of us try to make sense of it, some don't. There are those who are comfortable calling themselves the girl within. Personally, I think of being a boy as my day job.
The girl within, I don't know.
Not how you feel?
Well, when I dress, I'm excited. The clothes are soothing, almost cool. But then I begin to feel feverish.
You've got it bad.
Is that wrong?
Well, not if it feels right.
Right.
When you look in the mirror and see a woman, does it feel right?
Can you feel right and terrified at the same time?
Daily. Which is stronger?
I've tried to stop. I keep doing it.
Then that's your answer. What's the matter?
I'm ridiculous. The rest of you look so...
What have you been drinking? You're gorgeous.
Michael. No.
You're being silly. You've made a terrific first impression. Bessie stopped by my room just to tell me she adores you.
Help me get out of here, please.
You're having something like stage fright, that's all.
Please, Michael, please.
Oh, my dear girl, do you think a single one of us hasn't felt exactly as you do now? Can you be brave for me?
What do you mean?
Would you allow us to help you with your hair and makeup?
What? No.
Let us do a makeover. Just a few minor adjustments here and there.
Now?
You've been so brave to come this far. Take one step more.
No one's going to want...
Everyone's going to want to. No matter how you paint us, we're still guys under the hood. Women will tell you you look fine and then turn around and gossip as soon as you leave the room. But men aren't happy until they open their tool chests and fix something. So say yes.
Please just put a bag over my head and toss me in the trunk of my car.
Ladies, grab your kits and bits. Miranda has volunteered for a makeover.
Miranda, I'm so pleased for you.
A weekend project!
Stop, everyone. No makeovers, not tonight. We have a special guest and we have a meeting with business to discuss.
What if we let you do the eyes?
Charlotte's come all this
Do
way.
you seriously think I'd rather discuss business than do a makeover? It's our favorite thing to do at my house.
Loosen up, Val.
All right, everyone, grab your kids, make yourselves a plate, and let's get this show on the road.
You are some spirited girls, aren't you?
Dinner and a show. It's transvestite summer stock.
I've never understood artists' fascination with the male form.
I once had a mail form. I filled it out and sent it back.
Stand back and let's see Miranda.
She's a dream.
Perfect.
Can I see?
You are going to be so proud.
Girls, we've gone legit. As of this morning, the sorority is a non-profit organization registered with the United States of America.
Isn't that impressive?
Our membership's been growing by leaps and bounds.
It's the cheesecake.
I've incorporated in the great state of California, and I've come all of this way to invite you to form the first ever East Coast chapter with, I know you'll agree, a very deserved Valentina as president.
Congratulations, Val.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we have to vote, but I do hope you'll want me to take the position.
Selfishly speaking, having Valentina help me shoulder my duties would be a godsend. And this legitimacy will help us tame the ever-growing transvestite community and help us publicize our plight as minorities.
Are those the ballots?
No, we're doing everything ass backwards tonight. No.
As I said, you'll need to elect officers, and since we are now a registered organization with non-profit status, those officers will be required to provide a legal name and address. Problem?
I know we've always followed a policy of anonymity. We've never required a girl's legal name or any other information that might put her male life at risk, but that's not necessary anymore.
The dark ages are over. Thanks to the sorority, there is simply no need to hide.
And if you're more comfortable, you can give a business address.
Now that's a relief.
I firmly believe that once the world sees who we truly are, there will be no need for deception.
No worries. I was already planning on bankrupting my business. And who needs a family or reputation?
You're exaggerating, don't you think?
What I think is that before we put anything on paper, we need to think again.
I hold that it's not what we do, but what they think we do that makes the world shun us. And what is the worst misconception of all? What lie is told and repeated and believed by even the most informed observers? That we are homosexuals. And that is why, when you sign your membership registration, along with the aforementioned request for name, address, you'll find an affidavit stating that you are not a homosexual.
An affidavit?
Yes, I believe that's the legal term, Amy, is it not?
That we're not drag queens or sex changers. We're simply the outward expression of the interior female.
Now, Val.
No one reveres society's boundaries more than I do. I am, if anything, the standard bearer for the status quo.
You're a man pretending to be a woman. You need do no more.
I live with my wife, daughter, and her 2 children in an arrangement that has been painstakingly negotiated over decades. They know as much as they want. I indulge my whim with as little inconvenience to them as possible. It all seems quite satisfactory. So why put that balance in jeopardy? Why expose our dirty laundry to a world that really doesn't want to see it?
There is very little secret about what we do. The government has been in receipt of our full mailing list for more than a year.
I was 21 and in law school. It was 1912. You may lift your chins off the table. I was strolling past the window of a dress shop on the boulevard when something caught my eye. A gown. A magnificent silver satin gown. I stood staring open-mouthed with desire when suddenly I realized that the woman modeling the dress was staring back. She, the shopkeeper, seemingly everyone on the boulevard, stared at me with disgust, knowing what I was thinking. I ran the rest of the way to my rooms and swore I would never again allow any act of mine, no matter how minute, to disclose my inner life to strangers. I have spent half a century perfecting that impenetrability. I owe my security and peace of mind to the practice. And with that, I will take my bottle and my leave.
I'm not sure how I say this. I'm sorry to say I can't be party to the organization.
Terry, my friend, you don't owe any explanation. Please
I
don't
have
say
been
it.
hosting the Girl Within for more years than even you, Amy. Before I found another like me, homosexuals were the only friends I had. Among them, I found support, acceptance, and encouragement. For years, I've attended their balls and clubs and parties. Well, we all do. And aren't we always welcome? Homosexuals accepted me even as a heterosexual man without judgment or malice. And for the record, not once did I have to fend off unwelcome attention. I owe a great debt of gratitude to them. I'm not telling anyone else what to do, but I cannot sign a piece of paper purposely excluding them. And I should add, if creating this organization is truly a step ahead, then I think it is morally wrong not to extend that leg up to our sister transvestites in the homosexual world. I cannot imagine they wouldn't do the same for us.
Terry, you'd be fine if the resort was to fill up with homosexuals?
I imagine homosexuals have many more fun places to go than the Catskills.
been going out to bars and clubs together for a decade at least.
What is that supposed to mean? You know exactly why we went to those places.
Yes, I do. We dressed in our best and hoped we could pass undetected as women.
Exactly, because passing is the greatest achievement of what we do.
And when a man sent over a drink?
What? Validation for a job well done.
And when he'd come over to talk and tell you how pretty you were and light your cigarette? You want to tell me you never flirted back? You want to tell me you never gave a man your number?
Not the right one.
So that's your line between decency and depravity.
Validation of my skill. You never saw one of them touch me.
I saw many of them touch you, and for what it's worth, I know for a fact that you were aroused.
Oh, swinging, sister.
Someone to tell me what happened?
It was an accident. Nothing. Amy and Miranda were dancing, and one of them slipped and fell. And nothing.
She kissed Miranda.
It's wrong. It's wrong. I don't want this. Who could want this?
Let me give you a cup of coffee, please.
I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I just want to go home.
You went to the hospital like that?
Poor Amy was dragged out of here last night in tatters. We thought we'd dress in solidarity.
How is she? All they'll say on the phone is that she's stable.
The old girl's fine. Lots of blood, a fractured nose, but not a coronary.
The flesh will heal. The heart...
My father's in the car, and I need to get him home to bed as quickly as possible.
The judge is outside?
Yes, he's asleep. I'd rather you didn't disturb him. If you'll just show me where his things are.
Actually, someone's upstairs right now packing them if you'd like to sit.
You sure you don't want a cup of coffee? It's a long drive all the way back and forth to the city.
Nothing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, where are my manners? I'm George Vicara.
Obviously, we've heard all about you and your mom for years.
Oh, please don't.
I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?
Bessie, would you go help with the judge's things?
Just his street clothes. He won't need the other. He won't be back.
After all these years, do you ever wonder if I'll leave you? Or why I stay? Just because I went into this with my eyes open doesn't mean I understood. Last night, Bessie was talking about the perfect marriage she has with herself, and it suddenly made complete sense. There's no space between you and Valentina. You share everything. Every thought, every breath. You two have no secrets. We can't do that. Who am I to Valentina?
Rita, enough.
If I am your wife, who am I to Valentina? Is today the day you go to dress and I never see George again?
Showtime! I haven't seen you all since the Manhattan Theater Club.
Hey, hi, Nick. Hi, Patrick.
Mayor.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Mayor.
Hi, John. Hi, Harvey.
We have
Hi,
extra
Reed.
hair on Gabe, and we have extra hair on Patrick. They're not ready for Casa Valentina 2.
Oh,
I'll shave as soon as we get the go-ahead.
So we got the go-ahead. We can go ahead and talk. So they wanted us to 6 years later, while we've been sitting around in our homes, to talk about what it was like to do Casa Valentina. You were all so brilliant, so absolutely wonderful. It was amazing to see it again. It just was amazing. So, talk to me, Reed.
Well, I wrote you earlier today. Just watching that B-roll
yeah.
was thrilling.
to see. And it was such a beautiful time for all of us to be together and create that play together. One of the best times of my career, I will say. Maybe you all feel the same way, but it really was thrilling. But I remember let's all start with boot camp.
That first day with the dresses on racks.
With the dresses. And I remember putting the wig on and, well, maybe even before the wig, the first bad wig, but putting on the bra and the girdle. And I thought I was going to faint. It was so trippy. It was such an unprecedented experience and something I had never thought about. What would it be like to put on ladies' clothes? And I just remember being so glad we were all together to go through that first couple of hours. Didn't you guys feel that way too? I mean, it was trippy.
I just remember racing for the red hair. And Harvey like saying that I could be the redhead, and I was just so happy in that moment because of all of the iconic redheads that I looked up to my whole life. Beginning in previews, we were so nervous about being in drag in front of the audience that we walked out with all those props as actors. We asked for 18,000 props, and we went to light our cigarettes, and we were both shaking like little leaves. And so we walk off stage, and Reed looks at me and he goes, "Is this your first play?" But it lasted for 4 days or something. We would be shaking.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it actually ever went away in that first scene because we remember too, we were literally 2 feet away from the front row.
Right? Yes, you could see up our skirts.
Up our skirts, yeah.
Tom, why don't you tell us what you thought of yourself as a girl?
You know, I don't have many experiences like this. When the show is over. But I really missed Bessie. I missed her. And I missed all the other girls. I just really missed that whole experience. And it doesn't happen. It just didn't feel like it had lasted long enough. But I do remember that first day with the rehearsal costumes and how we all just sort of held hands and jumped in. And it was just such a great start to everything. Like, okay, everybody's game. And I just loved that.
The amazing thing to us on the outside watching was how incredibly at home you all seemed.
Harvey, I found the clothes very, very freeing. And when I was watching that B-roll today, I couldn't help but notice how much more comfortable I seemed in a dress than when I was in men's clothing.
That's true. That's very true. You seem more stiff, like the end when you're dressed as George. It's much more stiff.
And Miss Mare, now you had a very different place to be with these gentlemen. Did you feel the den mother? I mean, what was it you felt?
I was very attached to you all and the vulnerabilities that you were letting come out, especially obviously with Gabe seeing that scene again. But also, Gabe, when we would, sing the what did we used to call it, the big centerpiece scene when Gabe and I were outside on the porch.
When we all talk politics, me and Mare would bond.
Sure, yeah. But seeing a little piece of that scene again and being reminded of how powerful that was and John's speech, it just, we went on a long trip together, thinking about these things and getting our minds and our hearts around these people. And I was very touched by all of you. So that did bring out the mother in me. And I felt like it was a privilege to be a woman in this show and watch all of you transform.
Johnny, when I watched the thing and I saw your speech about, right there, and I saw your speech about your homosexual friends, I'm choking up just listening to, just thinking about it. It was fucking heartbreaking. And your speech about your days, your glory days, you were unbelievable in this show, John. I just want you to know that. Just unbelievable. What was the experience like for you? It was a little different than some other things you played. Was not quite Shenandoah.
My character looked so much like my mother that I had a problem not playing my mother as an actor. And sometimes I would slip into acting my mother rather than being myself as my mother.
I just want to say that watching the B-roll today, when John came on, I'm sure we all had the same experience. I was reminded what an incredible gift it was to share the stage with John Cullum and see that performance up close. It had so little vanity, and it was so deeply, authentically true. So maybe, John, if you were playing your mother, who cares? It was so gorgeous to watch, and something that I will remember the rest of my life. I felt so blessed.
I remember coming to the theater at, like, say, an hour before the curtain and seeing John Cullum on stage going over his monologues in his all denim. And I've told my students that, I've told everybody that story, that, you know, I saw John in Shenandoah when I was probably in high school, and it's, you know, years and decades later, and the work he put into it, and the freedom and the fun on stage, and him always pretending to be sick on stage to freak us out when his back was turned, to give us a heart attack.
Really do that?
Such a joy.
He would fuck with Tom and I when we were dancing upstage in the second act, and he would pretend to have heart attacks or
and then smile.
Nick, would you say that she was eventually a woman I mean, I feel that they were all very different. What did you think your case was, Nick?
I think if Michael or Gloria had our vocabulary today, you know, Gloria would be a pan-trans woman, probably, you know. I don't think that Michael had that kind of vocabulary or self-knowledge yet. I mean, I think he knew that she knew that she liked having sex with both men and women, and when in women's clothes, felt the most herself, you know, the most herself that she ever was. And even looking back at the B-roll, I definitely seem the most feminine in the cast, in a way, in my behavior. Maybe not how I look, but in my behavior, Gloria was really in Gloria, and we never see her not as Gloria.
And Gabe, your character had the biggest sort of arc in that you arrived so frightened, became so at home, and then ended in such a horrible place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only was it a gift as an actor to be able to do it in terms of the performance, but it was a gift as an actor in terms of sort of like being handed a kind of baton from the greats who I'm privileged to share the stage with now. There was part of me that when I watched it today, the very first beginning of the clip that we were sent was me as a man, and I had sort of not thought about that part of the play in such a long time, and that little button-up green number that I had and everything. And so it was great to revisit that part of the play, because when I think about it, I think of the big makeover scene, and I think of being a girl and being at the table. And then at the end of the clip was also me devastated just in my t-shirt in that great scene with Mare before he runs away. So it's funny that my memories were mostly of Miranda and less the beginning and end of the play.
You also blew me away as a writer, but Charlotte there was never a moment where I could catch you lying.
It was an incredible gift, Harvey, not only to be with this great group of people and share the stage with John Cullum, but also to get to explore this part of myself and to play Charlotte, who I thought was incredibly noble. She was so clear in 1962 about what she needed the world to be, and was willing to do whatever it took. And it wasn't villainous at all. It made complete sense. watching the B-roll today, I was unhappy with my wig, I have to say.
I thought your wig looked great.
No, it was a little flat.
Clean.
This sounds like you're back in the dressing room.
Some days it was nice and full, and then on the B-roll, it was very flat.
She's still in character.
I was unhappy with my wig. We were often unhappy with our wigs, though, weren't we, ladies?
I was reminded of the two biggest laughs of the night, which were on the B-roll, or at least it seemed at which one was Nick's line, which is everyone's going to want.
Everyone's going to want to.
I love because a lot of, your great humor has like setups and punchlines, and that line itself was just
brilliantly delivered. Nick's timing on that was so impeccable. Unbelievable. And then Cullum, when he does the homosexuals have better things to do than in the Catskills.
Yeah. They're like missiles. They're bulletproof lines that Harvey writes for you, and you just get to shoot them off every night. And it's the audience. They're so perfectly placed and worded, and you just get to be the one that tickles the audience the most in that moment. And it's thrilling doing these lines, Harvey. It's so much fun.
I remember getting the script, and I think Bessie comes in on page 5, and at the bottom of page 7, I was like, how do I get in this play?
Yeah, there was a reverence for it. It's interesting, the thing you were saying about how people expect something from you. If they see it's a Harvey Fierstein play, they go, oh, I bet I know what this is. Or they bring in a preconceived notion. And I do feel like as an ensemble, it was a great honor. And also it was important to us when we could break that. And some nights it took 2 minutes, some nights it took maybe 6 minutes or something. But there was a real reverence for the material, because an audience could come in with a preconceived notion, maybe with a little complacency, and then we could shake them out of it. And that was always such a treat, because you could actually feel it in the room.
It felt like flight with the audience when it was really firing on all cylinders. That this debate in the center of the play around a table just felt like flying. It felt like it was magical to me.
I think we were 1 year ahead of the national conversation. About all this.
True.
But what's interesting is if we had done it a year later, I think it would have looked like we were jumping on the bandwagon. So I sort of love that we were in the vanguard, and that the conversation was about personal owning one's authentic self rather than being allowed to wear women's clothes.
I found the whole thing endlessly fascinating and moving, and I carry it with me still. I think about it a lot. I think it opened me up a lot.
What do you think of the argument that Lisa's character made? That in the long run, you're hurting the people who love you, and you don't have the right to do that. Did that ring? Did anybody feel guilt off that, or?
I feel like our culture, her voice probably represents more of our culture than a lot of the other characters' voices represent, which is that you're making it hard for me. I struggle with these pronouns. I'm having a tough time with your life choices. And I want to think in a less 360-degree way than that. And so you're making it difficult for me. I feel like she really represented probably a dark but powerful part of the audience's psyche that also felt similarly to that. That's like, well, this is fun to see on a stage, but if it were to be in my family, if it were to be in my life, that's
why it was so brilliant she was in the play to have, as we've all had this fine time up at the resort, to have her show up and just remind everybody of what it costs outside of here.
What was so great about her coming in at the end is that such a safe space had been created that she just threw the curtains open. And me as Bessie, I remember just feeling shame for the first time, which I didn't have at Casa Valentina. So, it was, she had sort of come in and sort of interrupted, she shined some real world stuff at us.
So John, when you first got the call to play this, did you know what you were signing on for?
Not at all. I was surprised at myself because from the beginning of the rehearsal to the last moment of the run, I found myself wondering why I had to act, and I kept telling myself, "You're acting, John. You're not actually this guy or this woman." But I had to tell myself over and over that I was acting, and that followed me for every performance.
We were at Manhattan Theater Club. That was the theater that invited us in. Lynn was, I thought, very brave to want this play. Do you think it was the right audience for us? Do you think it was a good place to birth the play? Did you like
I just remember how spellbound the audience was. You know, they really were, I think, like all of us, they'd never seen anything like it. And to see it presented so respectfully and not a joke, you know, I think they thought it was going to be a big burlesque. And right from the curtain up, it was clearly not. And I feel like people went on a ride they didn't expect to go on and were thrilled to be on.
I've never had so many people respond so positively to a piece of work. And people would come up to me on the street. And to this day, people constantly reference Casa Valentina as not just something they enjoyed, but something that was important to them, something that was one of their best experiences in the theater. And
you remember towards the end, coming out of the theater after the show one night, there was that young man, not even 30, who said to us all, "Thank you so much for telling our story."
It's people coming in with their own expectations, right? They have the binary of everyone. There's the gay pile that I understand and the straight pile that I understand, and that's it, you know? And I think our understanding that we're coming to is that as we add letters to the LGBTQ of it all, AI plus of it all, we understand that human sexuality and how we identify or see ourselves or see our souls is so much more complicated than male, female, straight, gay.
I'm thrilled that we all got to spend this time together. I adore all of you. Writing this play was a great gift in my life, and seeing it produced was a great gift.
for me, I mean, the play really was a gift. I chased it down. I chased Harvey down because I wanted to be part of it so badly. I basically begged to be part of the production. When I read it, there was something so, I don't know, I connected with it. I loved it. I still love it. I think it's the favorite play I've ever done in my career.
I agree with everyone who said that this was a life-changing piece of theater to be involved in. It keeps coming back, and I'm really happy to see you all because I feel like I've missed you all so much. We were very tender with one another. We took very good care of one another.
It's rare to be in a group where every single person feels honored to play their part and to make the thing a whole. And I felt as much as I learned as an actor, I was also able to learn as a human being.
It was a shocking experience as well as very thrilling.
We happened to be on Broadway. It was just so exciting. And people just loved it and loved it. And, you know, you all know my daughter, Mary. I think she saw it 8 times. She just couldn't stay away. She just, so there were a lot of people like that. A lot of people seeing it again and again and again and savoring it.
And I always tell everyone it was like, I would sit on stage in between John Cullum and Mare Winningham. And it's like singing between 2 people with perfect pitch. Like Patrick said, but that's the case with the entire ensemble, and getting to make music with all of you. It was to have to come up to that level that was our ensemble, and that was this script, and that was what Joe demanded of us, and what these Rita brought in the costumes, and what MTC brought as a producing organization. Like, to come up to that level taught me what I'm capable of as an actor, and it was, I'll never forget it.
I've done 10 billion plays in my life, and I'm not sure that I can say with such confidence as I can say about Casa Valentina that I was part of a masterpiece. And I realized happily at the time, and ever since then, that to get to play Charlotte and to get to play with all of you was exactly why I became an actor. I don't know if I'll ever have another experience that matches it quite the same, where there was such goodwill backstage and on stage, and it was a joy to do. It was a joy to come to work. It was a joy to go out after. It was a joy to wait in the wings. It was a joy to be on stage. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful for it, and I will never forget it.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. This was so wonderful.
Love you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.